wanted to bring it back up and get your all's take on it. So we'll start with you this time, Jacob. So, like I said earlier, our buddy Easton Butler, the Packers have called and spoken with two teams about cornerbacks. Per sources, three players have been mentioned, being Alontae Taylor from the New Orleans Saints and both DJ Turner and Cameron Taylor Britt from the Cincinnati Bengals. I was told Turner was a legit asking if he was available, and Taylor Britt was just a call. Now, listen, Easton Butler went on to say, calling a team doesn't mean they're in deep conversations. That'll be done soon. Literally could be asking about availability, price point, or actual trades to develop. So, again, he's not saying the Packers are trying to trade for a corner. He's simply saying this is a specific position, three specific players that they asked about their availability. So this tells me these are all three former second-round picks. Tells me that Goody probably had a first-round grade on them and seeing if he could get a deal on them. Jacob, how do you feel about the cornerback room currently? I could give you these stats. I'm sure you can't see them very well there. Let me just hit them real quick. On the season here, hell, if I can see them, this is rough, boy, let me tell you. So on the season, it looks like Alontae Taylor's grading out in the 60s, I believe. Then you've got DJ Turner. I don't know why it's not zoomed in more there. There we go. It's a little better. DJ Turner is the one that's got the best grade at a 76.7 right now. He's also only 24 years old, about to turn 25, and he ran a 4.240, so he's got elite athleticism, another second-round pick. And then Cam Taylor Britt is grading out a 54.5. So obviously the one that's most appealing according to PFF is DJ Turner. I want to ask you, Jacob, how do you feel about the cornerback room, and would you be willing to trade for another corner? Tim mentioned offline to me, I don't mean to steal your thunder, Tim, but I'm going to bring it up because I think it's a great point. Like, we already got a guy in Carrington Valentine we think should be on the field. We ain't got room for him on the field, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do agree with that sentiment with Tim. I would love to see Carrington have more playing time. You know, the whole Hobbs thing is kind of – I'm not willing to write him off quite yet. I do like the aggressivity he plays with. That being said, if there was a guy on this list, I would definitely be Turner that I'd be intrigued with. Like you said, the 4.2 speed, the age of 24, and more importantly, the way that I saw him play against us, he was playing phenomenal in that Cincinnati game. I believe that he ended up being a 90-ish grade in that game, and I think we only slipped maybe one or two passes by him, and even then he had really sticky coverage. Love the upside with him. Would it be a move to maybe, if we really do think that we're going to make a late run and we think that the cornerback room's a liability, then I would, I'm not the GM. I'm not in that front office, unfortunately. So I don't get to really be privy to those conversations. But that being said, I mean, me personally, I know that I went into the beginning of the season thinking that the cornerback room was going to be our biggest liability. I think that in certain situations it has proven to be true. However, in certain other situations, we see flashes of them being really, really, I've seen Keyshawn having that 5 PBU type game. You see Carrington having flashes here and there. You see guys like Bullard taking a step in certain situations. So I'm not officially ready to write off anybody that's currently on our roster, but if we can improve the roster, making a late stretch and really have that kind of shore up that room, if there is injuries, even if we got the best 3-4 guys, depending on the coverage out there, that's what I want. And I really am getting sick of thinking that we're handcuffed to whatever player we recently gave a big contract. That's what I don't want us to do. I don't want us guys going out there because we paid them. I want the best guys going out there, period.
Yeah. And Emilio, when you look at it here too, man, just thinking about the future, right? In 2026, there's 3 cornerbacks on our roster that are currently under contract: Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs, and Carrington Valentine. However, Bo Melton and Kamal Hadden, Bo Melton has a restricted free agent tag, right? And then Kamal Hadden, exclusive rights free agent. So essentially, they're going to return if we want them back. That's essentially what that means. So when you look at the contract situation here, do you think maybe, okay, if you go out and you trade for a player you had a first-round grade on, and let's say you give up a third or a fourth-round pick for them, right? Or maybe, hell, who knows, a 5th or a 6th-round pick, and all right, they are the player we thought they were, or they're better than, say, a Bo Melton or Kamal Hadden. That kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, I would think so. My thought was, I feel more comfortable with our D-line than our corner room depth. If that's a way to look at it for me to kind of get to the process of, yeah, I think that we could go ahead and bring in a corner. But like Tim was saying, and like you think about it, we rely more heavily on safeties because we're bringing that one into the slot. We have a backup in Catan. We have Evan. You have X. So we didn't technically need all that corner depth, but I do see where, that could be a possibility. If you're going to take your shot, you got to do it now before the trade deadline. I don't think there's any corners out there that you can just pick up off the streets and play, free agency wise. So if you're ready and you think that that's, something, it would be a Goody decision with a little bit of Ed and a little bit of discussion with Matt and Jeff. And if you think we need that depth, man, go out and do it.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that. He mentions that, Tim, because Coach Hafley was actually asked earlier, man. And this kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about. I want to get your take on it too, Tim. Matt Schneidman tweeted out, Jeff Hafley defends his DBs when asked about quarterbacks like Prescott, Flacco, and Brissett having some success recently. Now, listen, there's a good portion of the fan base that thinks these cornerbacks suck, right? Mm-hmm. But as Hafley points out, our secondary right now is number 1 in the NFL in yards per pass play. Now, what's the stat that, and listen, I say this because there are some fans that rake me over the coals saying that's a horrible stat. Yards per pass attempt is the exact stat that Jeff Hafley mentions here, Tim. We're number 1 in that. And again, is it everything? No, it's not everything, right? There's a lot of other things that come into play. We did chalk talk, me and Emilio. There were several busted coverages in match coverage, was there not?
Yep. And Hafley talked about that a little bit in his presser. He didn't want to get into it, but that one we talked about, that one touchdown, they thought they were in cover 4. There was some issues with the back end this game.
Right. So Tim, they weren't on the same page. However, I love that Hafley mentions, damn, boys, listen, I know we're not playing perfect, but we're number 1 in yards per pass play, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it maybe explains why they're not willing to come off of, Keyshawn, Hobbs, and Bull out there as the main characters. That's why I kind of push back against the sentiment of trading for a corner that you think is going to play anytime soon. I'd like to see CV hit the field more often, and we can barely get him any reps. So, to Emilio's point, if you can shore up the back end of that DB room, that cornerback room, and, maybe you can make an improvement over, say, a Kamal Haddon or a Bo Melton. But I feel like, to your point, Clay, that, they want him around, they're going to keep him. And Bo would be the guy, I think, that's going to stay. I think he's got a greater role on this team other than just being a corner, obviously. So if you can shore up the back end with some creative moves, maybe, but bottom line, it's K9, it's Hobbs, and it's Javon Bullard, and then maybe Valentine. I don't see what a move at corner is going to do that's going to really impact the play on the field. And to Hafley's point, I mean, if you look at the tail of the tape, our secondary is doing pretty damn good right now. You may not like how it looks out there, but, this is a results-driven business and game, and the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, like Coach Lynn says, they don't suck, but I want more bodies in that room in 26. Completely agree with that, right? And like Emilio pointed out, you've actually got 4 corners in that room as opposed to the 3 PFF or spot track showing, because you got, Bullard that's playing slot corner as well.
Right.
So
maybe that's the issue right there, right? Like, let's get a true slot corner and not have to have a safety play the slot, or just convert Bullard and call him a slot corner.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, there's that. And then listen, another big talking point was obviously Nate Hobbs, and we seen it on tape. However, after we watched it through, Amelia, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I didn't come away feeling good about Hobbs. Don't get me wrong. But there were a couple plays that I thought that was on Hobbs. And then after we watched the tape back, it's like, no, that wasn't on Hobbs. Specifically that touchdown to Trey McBride, right? Where it's obvious that everyone else was playing the same defense other than Edgerrin Cooper, where he let him kind of cross his face and go, right? Yep. So one of the things Jeff Hafley mentioned today, Matt Schneidman tweeted out Jeff Hafley on Nate Hobbs, quote, I believe he's going to get out there and take a step forward this week. He said, without saying, Jacob, he struggled. That's essentially what he's saying here, right? Like, hey, I think he's going to take a step forward. So he's kind of acknowledging Hobbs had a bad day, which I respect the way he did that as well. It's not, he's got to be better. No, I think he's going to be better, right? I think that's the right way of handling it. But I think we would all agree we have not been pleased with Nate Hobbs up to this point, Jacob. But also, as we mentioned time and time again, he's kind of been playing from behind all year with that injury he had in training camp too.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to lie, when I initially heard about the Hobbs signing, I was like, God, why are we throwing money around like this? After digging in a little bit as to his style of play, the connections, obviously, that go back to the Raiders and what that does with Bisaccia and how they kind of ties in. After seeing the aggressiveness that he plays with, it was really exciting in that OTA and preseason start of the season. And like you said, that injury just absolutely, I don't care what you say, anybody that's played sports, especially when you get an early injury in the season before you get your conditioning, your wind, you are so far behind the 8 ball to try to catch up. It's just, I mean, you are just kind of chasing everybody else that has that natural progression from week to week. And the continuity of playing within a certain scheme with certain guys next to you where you get that comfortable those reps where they're like exactly what coach is saying. He's not fully healthy yet. We haven't seen him. It's funny because we were so willing to give leeway and some time for Micah because he went literally, we paid the guy a lot of money. We told him to come over here. We said, hey man, we're going to give you a few weeks to get your wind underneath you, to get the playbook. For whatever reason, we decided that Hobbs isn't worth that same grace. And I think that we need to take a step back as Packer fans and realize, hey, we're being a little harsh on this dude just because, and I'll be honest, I think it's because the name, most people didn't know his name when we announced the signing. You know, right. It wasn't, he's not on Wheaties boxes. Has no action figures. He's not doing commercials. He's just a lunch pail type player. And usually those are the types of players that come in and perform really well for us. So again, I'm not really willing to write him off just so yet.
I agree with that 100%, Jacob. I mean, look at the patience and the grace we gave Ja dealing with injuries.
Right.
We were patient enough to let him, try and get back to that elite level. We know what Nate Hobbs is capable of doing, and I agree with Coach Lane here. He's just not fully healthy there, yet, and that explains why we see some of the things we saw on the field. Plus, combined with what you covered, Clay, talking about they threw everything but the kitchen sink at him, making it extremely difficult. So I agree with Coach Hafley's sentiment that belt to ass Nate Hobbs is coming back soon. We just got to be a little bit patient, right?
Belt to ass, BTA.
Thank you. Exactly, Nate. Because I mean, if that's what everybody's mad at Goody for, or whatever, like that's his worst free agent signing ever. I mean, you're mad about that. Yeah, he didn't have a couple good games. Dude came off a knee injury. I remember watching that video. I didn't even like him going out and playing that week. Like I don't think that we would rush him back, as in like the Packers organization, because Josh is always talking about how much they're protecting the players and all that. But he's like, no, I'm a different kind of guy. I'm okay. Keep giving me the reps. I think that Hobbs is also that kind of dude saying, I want to be out there like Christian would. I want to be out there. I want to play. And maybe it's just still a little tender. I mean, he got turned around a couple of times. Yeah, it happens. But I think that he's a good corner. I think we're going to get, a good deal out of it. If it doesn't work out, fine. But you can't judge a dude off 7 games coming off an injury. We haven't even hit, midway of the season. And we, like Hafley said, are first. And, it doesn't matter if it's one dude. There's 11 on defense at a time. You just got to have trust in the entire, the unit as a whole. And I think that, Hobbs does help the team, get better or make him better.
Got a quick question for you guys. Tim already knows the answer. We had this conversation offline. Jacob and Amelia, if you had to guess which cornerback on the Packers roster has the best passer rating when targeted, don't touch your keyboard, don't touch your phone. Who do you think has the best passer rating when targeted on the Packers cornerback room?
I would guess Hobbs, actually.
Probably Carrington, but
guess who it is? Javon Bullard.
Ooh.
At a 90.0. Not good, but he's got the best, right? And that's according to NFL Pro. But, of course, when you hop over to, like I said, that's the numbers right there. Again, passer rating allowed. McKinney, safety, 33.1 stud. Javon Bullard, 90.0. Keyshawn Nixon, 91.0. Evan Williams, 97.2. Carrington Valentine, 106.5. And Nate Hobbs, 124.5 right now.
Don't be sleeping on Bull, man.
Hey, listen, that was his best 2 games I've seen him play, in my opinion, as a Packer. And I'm trying to curb the enthusiasm because, again, you guys know I've been very vocal. Coverage is not his strength. But boy, oh boy, he seems like he's getting really comfortable. And he's getting even more comfortable laying the wood, dude. You can tell he is bringing the thunder.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing it. So that's just one statistic, right? Again, I just want to point that out. Now, if we go to PFF and we were to look at the grades, right, overall defensive grades, Carrington Valentine, 72.9, Keyshawn Nixon, 68.7, Nate Hobbs, 59.3. Why do I mention that? And again, this doesn't have Bullard in it, right? It does not. So the reason I mentioned that, maybe I can pull up Bullards here in a second, is because the one common thing that both PFF and NFL Pro agree with is Nate Hobbs is the worst corner on the team right now. So again, I know we're talking about grace and this and that, but if you see it, you got to say it. 2 different sites, 2 different ways of grading a player, right? Have him as the worst on the team right now. So we got to mention it. You know, I'm going to try to pull Bulls real quick. Go ahead.
All I'd say, Clay, is look at that picture right there. We don't even have, where are the other reps at corner? You know what I mean? Like, there's no other spots for reps, I feel like. Even if we go to get somebody, it's those 3 and that's it. I mean, it's your safeties that we're relying on.
That's why I like Bullard making steps in the coverage game, because it makes me think to the future, like, can we in fact put him back at safety? And then you move a guy like Hobbs to the slot like we discussed, and you get Carrington Valentine on the field. Now you're rotating Bull as like a box safety, playing in the box near the line of scrimmage kind of guy in some of these packages. And then you keep the talent that you have and the personnel you have. You just get more guys on the field. We haven't seen Bullard play true safety since last season. And we didn't like how that looked. So it'd be interesting to see how it looks now with the progress that he's made with his coverage skills.
Yeah, and Drew D points out a great point. Hobbs has a really good run defense grade. He's solid in the run defense, right? Yep. I feel like he is a slot corner. I think he's being asked to do something he shouldn't be doing. That's just me personally. But again, do you take out your second-round pick and Bullard and put him in there and put him on the bench now? Because you're damn sure not going to start Bullard over Evan Williams or Xavier McKinney at safety, right?
Then maybe you're right. Maybe it becomes a question of it should be CV. Does CV earn that spot over Hobbs?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And again, this is Javon Bullard's coverage grade, by the way. Keep in mind, he's got the best passer rating when targeted on the Packers, coverage grade 58.1. It's like Cousin Eddie, right, on Christmas vacation or whatever. What do you say? She fell down a well, her eyes went cross, she gets kicked by a mule, they go back straight. I don't know, right? So there is your DB room breakdown. Anything else you guys want to hit on there before we move on to a little bit more Look, actually, I got one more I'll hit as soon as we wrap this up. You guys got anything else on the DB room?
I love Fishy Things comment. He says, a corner with great run defense is like a pirate with great hygiene. Cool. That's not why you're on this ship.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
That's right, man.
I kind of agree with it, but like you said, one thing that we have to remember, I believe, are we still number 1 in rush defense? And that helps when we have 2 dudes. That's one in the slot, one playing outside that absolutely are willing to throw their body around like a human meat missile in the run game.
Mm-hmm. If you go to yards per rush attempt, Green Bay is officially 4th, okay, at 3.5 yards per rush attempt. However, most people, and you guys know I'm not a big fan of this, they go to rushing yards per game. Rushing yards per game, we slipped the second now at 76.5. Still solid, but 76.5. So that's where we sit there. But again, for those of you watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about the DB room? Should they trade for somebody? Do you feel like that we're, not just us, but everybody's being too harsh on Nate Hobbs? Do you feel like, no, it's kind of warranted? Is he still a little banged up like some of the listeners have said here in the chat? Let us know what you think, and make sure you hit subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here.